Hello, it's Andy. Welcome to the Wednesday, July 19th occurrence of combined work group meeting. And on the list of agenda, we first have Istio performance test follow-up. Who put this item on the agenda?
Yeah, sorry, it's me. Yeah, I just want to know if there's any update on that. I remember Marian put some comments in the issue, and I think right now we still have performance data only for 116 last time I checked. Eric, do you know if Marian's still working on this or?
Good question. I don't think so. I know Andrea was trying to work with somebody to generate data because I want to say they generated some data for 1.18, but they weren't able to interpret it correctly. So they were trying something again. And I don't know who the Google person is that was helping them.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
John
Brian
knows.
from Google was doing some work on it. I can see I lost my history of our messages, and I asked them a couple minutes ago what the current status is, and haven't heard back yet. So I don't really know much. Is my answer.
Yeah, I can check with Andrea too and see what's going on.
John, do you want to follow up with Brian?
Yeah, I did ask him. I haven't got a response back.
Okay, thanks so much.
And Eric, you said you were going to follow up with
Andrea.
Ah.
Usually she's on this call, but I don't see her this morning.
All right. Anything else on this issue in particular?
No, that's it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Lynn. All right, Kalia, you want to give us an update? Oh, there's Andrea. Hang on one sec. So Andrea just joined. Eric, do you want to just ask Andrea here?
Yeah, I mean, Andrea, the question is what's the status of the performance testing?
So I think last I heard was that Brian from Google was working on it. So I don't have much of an update from
So everything points to Brian.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically what we found was that the Istio tests weren't working. There was actually a problem with the actual testing. And so I think, yeah, Brian was looking at it because he was like a further point than I was, where he saw like some of the actual failures on his system, like that he could debug because he understood like, I forget what the product is that we embed in for the performance test, but it's not inside Istio, it's like inside that extra thing that we use for the performance test. I can look it up, but I forget off the top of my head what it was called.
Okay. So John has already pinged Brian. We'll give him hopefully get an update on this next week.
Right.
All right, Brian says this is like the longest game of telephone. He says that he coordinated with Andrea and said she would get back to me, but she never did. So I think you guys are both waiting on
Okay,
each
you two need to talk.
Okay, so yeah, I'll follow with Brian then.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Lynn, for bringing this up.
Well, thank you all for help pushing it.
All right. Let's move on to the second issue. So, Callie, want to give us an update on the issue triage?
Yeah. So basically, John, Paul, and I met the other day to start triaging some issues, but mostly to figure out like what we actually want to accomplish with triaging. John identified like 3 different types of triaging that we're really interested in. And that would be 1, identifying issues where help is wanted or it's a good first issue. Because that's like going to be really important to get people who are new to the code base involved and to get them to be able to start learning. 2 is issues that need more info or need more labeling. So in terms of that, for the whoever is doing the triaging, it's can involve like adding tagging other people who are maintainers to take a look, or asking whoever created the issue to add more information. And that is really kind of dependent. You have to figure out if the person who created the issue is a developer or a user. So, that's one category. And then the other one is probably the simplest one, which is just including areas so that it's easy for people who are taking a look at issues to filter and see which ones that they can actually help out with. And then as we were triaging a few issues, we felt that there was like a need to add a triage to label, and that is just something that we wanted to run by like very quickly in this group meeting, adding that triage label. And then John also volunteered to kind of clean up the labeling system to see what's being used, what's not being used, so that that is a little bit more robust. And then the last conclusion was basically, it's really nice to triage issues during this time where it's a little bit more calm in terms of release work, and that does help make things a bit more organized. But the most value added would be in dedicated issue triaging 1 month after the release as issues pop up, and then we can prioritize and determine what are actually issues, what needs to be fixed like soon, and what can wait until the next release, as well as maybe a month before, but that time period is not going to be as busy as right after.
Thank you. So 1 month after release, it's the best one. So that's basically before the next release, and also after previous release, and we should have sufficient amount of time for customers to report issues.
Yeah, exactly. And then also that we're going to add a triage label so that whoever is doing the issue triaging knows what's been looked at, what hasn't.
Okay. Thank you. Any feedback from the community?
Yeah, this is good stuff. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks to John and Paul for helping out.
Okay, so those are the 2 agenda on the notes list. Does anyone else have anything to bring up for today?
Yeah, just a quick follow-up. Last week, I think John took a to-do, which I asked John. He said he's busy, so I started writing the document for header injection, but it's not ready yet. I will try to bring it next Wednesday.
Thank you. Started. All right. Anything else?
Hello, I've got
Hello.
an item. Hi, I'm George. I work at the CNCF, And I've been sent here to ask about Istio conformance. Has anyone talked about this? Would there be interest in this? And I was just kind of check to see where the community's at, and if so, anybody interested in that? Because now that you're graduated, that's like a thing the CNCF is looking at, for projects that are graduated, and I'm here to kind of start that discussion, I guess. This is also my first month here, so I have no idea what I'm doing.
Welcome.
Oh, cool. We welcome.
So we're
yeah.
just making it up as we go along. So I figured I would just show up to your meeting and ask.
No,
Yeah,
it's
it's actually
good.
my
So-
question as well.
Yeah.
What's
Yes.
conformance?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No. Go ahead. Answer that question first. Somebody also asked in the chat. So
Mhm.
Yeah. I was in the middle. I didn't know you reached the end of your agenda so fast. I was in the middle of looking it up. So Kubernetes has a conformance program that basically vendors participate in, and that's where they get that badge that says certified Kubernetes vendor or whatever. I think the badge is there. It is. If you scroll down there, you'll see what the badge actually looks like.
This one here?
Up a little bit
With,
more.
oh,
In between these two pages.
so these are all the platforms that are certified Kubernetes.
Yeah, if you scroll up, there should be a Kubernetes like logo at the very top. I think you clicked on something there.
I probably clicked.
There
on
you go. Now
this.
scroll down.
Oh, okay, there we go.
There it is.
That thing.
And what this program is a way for vendors and the project to kind of figure out what that looks like. And then that gives vendors a way to kind of productize Kubernetes in a way that's like consistent and things like that. And this is like it was actually already in place when I had started in Kubernetes, so I don't know a lot of the details. So the idea basically is this something that would be interesting to the Istio community as far as having something like this in place? Understanding that we're just, having discussions now because this is a whole program and it's a ton of work to set up and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, so who is building the program? I think that's the question number one. And then number two is, does vendor have to pay to be certified Kubernetes or Istio vendor?
I don't know if they pay. Here's the actual technical
How it works in
description.
Kubernetes, as far as I know, is they have a test, and you run the test, and then the test gives a report, and then you upload the report. I don't know how they ensure that you don't lie about the report, probably because you would be crucified if you did.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to pay or anything. You just have to pass the
Okay.
test.
So just run through your distro with the test and then upload to get certified. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now, I guess the other thing is, what do you expect from the Istio community? Like, who's going to create this?
I suspect that this is my job, but it would be dependent on if there's interest to it, which is kind of why I think with graduated projects, there is going to be interest in having performance for graduated projects, right? Because sometimes there's like a vendor attached to those things or whatever. So from a CNCF perspective, what I'm looking to do is, are there any best practices from the existing ones in place? Kubernetes, I think Knative might have one, a few other ones or whatever, and kind of having like a generalized framework that would be of interest for projects. So when they do graduate or whatever, if they're interested in a conformance program, we can have something like in place that's like, okay, here we fill in Istio in these 4 places, and then you kind of have a thing. Is kind of where I've been brainstorming what it could look like.
So John first, then Keith, then me.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess my question is like, what is really? I mean, it's a lot of work, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
what is really like, who benefits from this? To me, it feels like the person that benefits is vendor A that passes the test being able to dunk on vendor B that doesn't pass the test. And I don't see it anyone else benefiting, but maybe I'm just have a very narrow view. It's definitely a pessimistic view.
Yeah. In my experience, being a healthy cynic as well, is I don't think I've seen a major Kubernetes offering that isn't certified. I think they made that lightweight on purpose. And I think the value that provides is everyone having, a badge that says, if you use this Kubernetes, you have an actual certified Kubernetes, and then you have the freedom to, choose your own, and it kind of shows value there for the project that here's a set of vendors that kind of agree on what quote unquote a Kubernetes should look like in a standardized manner, in order to like kind of allow that ecosystem and market to form. So that I don't think I've actually seen a non-conformant Kubernetes one other than people setting up their home labs and stuff.
Yeah,
Does
I
that
think
answer your
Jeremy,
question?
I think Jeremy is right on, and that's what I'm thinking too. Customer do care, maybe vendor, because customer they wants to know if they happen to be moving to different distro of Kubernetes, right? What are the changes they need to make?
There's also trademark implications. Like, you can't say that you are offering a managed Kubernetes if you do not pass the Kubernetes tests. John, that's the same reason why the service mesh that you and I worked on is not able to be called a managed Istio, because there are no Istio conformance tests for us to be able to use that trademark.
That's a good point. I think we should pass mic to Keith. And that's Keith, you lower your hand.
Yes, so I that last minute trademark piece is interesting. I wasn't aware of that. So within the CNCF of if you don't have conformance tests, that prevents you from saying that your offering is managed. Insert project name here. That's my first question. My second question is more around how do those conformance tests evolve? And yeah, let's focus on the first question. So on the trademark implications, there is that like just part of the CNCF governance legal stuff.
I'm unsure on that. I would I don't know if I want to assume, but
It is, Keith. Yeah, the
Okay.
trademark has been assigned to the CNCF, so they govern how it's used, and how they've done so with Kubernetes is that you cannot use the Kubernetes trademark in your product offering unless you have gone through their process of conformance testing. This is something that back in the day when Istio was not under CNCF and we were under some other three-letter acronym, the EUC, or I can't remember what it was
Open
called.
Usage Commons.
There we go.
Yeah, OUC.
Yeah.
wow.
They were responsible and actually began working on defining what conformance would look like from a legal perspective from Istio. This was done in cooperation with the steering committee. George, that's probably a committee we should connect you with.
Yes.
Typical trademark questions would begin there. But I do think you have a number of people in the room whose companies would probably like to be offering a managed Istio service. So you've probably got some interested partners here.
Yeah, actually, where I came from was Kubernetes. I was old Heptio way back in the day, and my actual plan was like, if they're interested, I'm gonna find out who did Kubernetes conformance, grab all their notes, and kind of work on this with y'all. But I did want to answer when you got to the part. It's like, what does this look like and stuff. I think it would be totally defined by you as far as like what you want that process to look like. I think Ian has her hand up.
Yeah, I was just curious with like Kubernetes conformance and not being able to call yourself a certified managed Kubernetes, is that something that kicks in when conformance testing exists? Or is that like it's kicked in for everything, and if we don't make conformance tests, then no one can say? Do we know the answer to that?
As I understand it, Ian, the latter is the case. The Istio trademark is not usable by vendors until conformance tests are written and passing. And I'll give the standard, I don't work for the CNCF and I am not a trademark lawyer. So
Sure.
that's just the software engineer understanding of how things work.
Yeah. So I guess to reframe my question is there interest in Istio pursuing this? And if so, I guess my job is to kind of report back and figure out how we'd resource that and use my time to help you implement that, I guess, is where I'm at.
I think sounds like there's some definite interest from folks in the room.
Okay.
Like I was mentioned, there are several vendors here who
Yeah.
want to make sure on the right side of trademark law, as well as I think from a project community perspective, there's I think some benefits for customers as well as for the community of having this set of functionality, features, etc., that represents a compliant Istio distribution. We've gone through this somewhat similar process with the Gateway API, defining one level of conformance.
Okay.
This would be a little bit different, obviously, but I do think it's there's some usefulness here.
Should we
Okay.
bring this in front of the Istio steering committee? Make a decision there, because it seems like the type of thing that steering will be interested in.
Definitely should. Yeah, I know Stuart discussed this in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So maybe I should. What meeting should I go to next? I guess is my my question for the group.
So in general, there are 3 sets of meetings for Istio community plus, well, Ambient is also a part of the Istio community. So this Wednesday morning, we have this meeting, and then the next hour where we discuss Istio as well as ambient mesh related, mostly technical tasks.
Okay.
Every month, there's also the technical oversight committee meeting that's on the same calendar.
Yep.
John, is it on different or the same calendar? Okay, it's on the same calendar. And then there's a separate steering body that's on another calendar, which I do not have access to. But
Yes,
their
steering meetings are private. I mean, we can invite people if you want. We can also just go talk about it. So either one. We have it weekly on Thursdays. We're happy to have guests, or I can just bring it there and discuss. Yeah, we can have a reasonable conversation without you, but you're welcome to join as well.
Yeah, I figured I'll join the Slack and just start coming on the meetings in the background, and then I'll take all this information that you've given me and then come back and then start to put together a plan somewhere. I think the idea there is, as projects graduate, to offer them that as a service, so that shows that level of maturity that people kind of expect when they see a graduated project. So I'm just kind of keen on making it nice and efficient, and if it's something that you want to do, making it awesome for you. So
thank you, much appreciated.
Thank you
So,
for having me. I
John,
appreciate it.
So John, you'll bring this in front of steering this week?
Yeah, I can bring it.
All right, thank you. George, what's your email or what's your contact?
I'm George, that's Jorge at cncf.io, and Castro Jo on Slack, and I'll make sure I join. Let's see, are you on your own Slack or on a?
Yeah, we have our own Slack.
Yeah. Yep. I will be there. And then hope to participate in all the community meetings. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Any other topics on Volkswagen?
Francis, I have a quick PSA. This is
Mhm.
the last week to submit talks for IstioCon 2023. It's our annual conference. It's going to be held virtually in September, and you can find the CFP on the CNCF website. There's a little bit of confusion about it because it is being done at the same time as an Istio Day event adjacent to KubeCon China. So there's essentially the ability to submit an in-person talk for China, which will be like a one-day event, or there's a virtual talks that have 2 days worth of events that you can submit for, and that's where most of the English language talks will be. So the CFP closes Sunday night, and appreciate people taking the time to submit.
But these
While
two
we're-
events should not be confused. Mitch?
Sorry, what was that, Francis?
These two events, the IstioCon USA and the Istio Day event in China, are two separate events and should not be confused with each other.
Yeah, they are a part of the same event as far as the CNCF is concerned, but as far as attendance or submitting a CFP, it's fair to consider them as separate. Just two things that are happening at the same time in the Istio universe. John, I think you had a question or comment?
Yeah, not to add more confusion, but what about the Chicago Istio event? Is that CFP is open for that yet?
I believe that CFP is open through August 6th, but I am not chairing that event, so I'm not as sure about that.
CFP does close August 6th because I know I need to get my submission in. So yes, you're correct, Mitch.
Yeah. So it seems like if you want to submit at either or both, you probably should be doing it to both, or coming up with two different talks.
Niranjan, did you have a question?
Yeah, thanks. I was just curious, like, what exactly is the difference between IstioCon and like Istio Day Chicago event, or are they just two kind of similar Istio CNCF events?
They are similar events. IstioCon is an event that dates back. This will be our third annual IstioCon. Because of the pandemic, it started as a virtual conference, but it is a standalone. And in the future, we expect that to become a standalone in-person conference. So not like a day zero event of KubeCon. Istio Day is an add-on event for KubeCon. So you can actually, when you go to KubeCon, you can buy tickets for just the main event, or you can buy the all access pass, which includes the day zero events. Istio Day is one of, I think, 9 day zero events that are happening in Chicago this fall. But as far as like, does a talk belong in one or the other? It could very easily belong in both. Really depends a lot on the audience you're trying to reach, the timing that you want to deliver your talk, as well as whether you are willing to travel to deliver that talk.
So Mitch, just so that we're clear on all the deadline for submission. So IstioCon.
IstioCon deadline is this Sunday, midnight at Pacific time. So what is that? July 23rd?
Yes, July 23rd.
And in the past, the CNCF used to do like last minute extensions on all these deadlines. I've been told that that is no longer going to be the case. So expect the deadline to actually be Sunday night at midnight, not last minute extended through Monday. I made that mistake with KubeCon.
And for Istio Day?
August 6th, which is 2 weeks after.
That's a deadline for submission.
Yes, for Istio Day.
Same time, like 2400 Pacific?
I think so.
And I seems to hear there's another Istio Day event, but this is Istio Day in China.
Oh,
and
sorry.
there's also
So Istio Day in China is also the 23rd.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. And then this is Istio Day Chicago.
North America, yeah.
Okay. Is August 6th.
That's correct.
Gotcha. So in theory, if someone is interested, they could present the same topic in all three. Just depends on availability and willingness to travel.
Yeah, you can certainly submit the same talk to all three. The various program committees will have to make decisions as to whether it's accepted in each track, etc.
Thank you, Mitch. All right, let's see. What else do we have? Any other topics before we wrap up the meeting? Did someone speak? Okay, I take that's a no. All right, thank you, everyone. And I will see you in a bit at the ambient work group.
Thanks, Francis.
Thank you.